What's up, everyone? Welcome into the first episode of the Lonatharil Fusion Guide. So the first thing we'll start with is let's check out his abilities, see how good he potentially is. So he is a high health under the Force affinity and an HP scaler. So he's going to be one of those that is tanky and not usually dish out much damage because the damage scaling rate off of HP generally isn't anything huge. The interesting thing with him is he actually was designed and advertised to be a damage dealer, however, so that's interesting, but we'll see why that is. So his A1 is a single attack against a single enemy that has a built-in 30% of inflicted damage, max HP reduction, as well as placing a shield on your lowest health ally equal to 10% of his max HP. So you could pretty easily drop a decent sized shield. So this could be pretty useful. There's a lot going on here. I really like where this ability is coming from. His A2 is Flicker Barrier. It drops down to a 3-turn cooldown after books. It is an AoE hit. Places a shield on all allies for 3 turns equal to 20% of his max HP. So that's twice the size of the shield on his A1, and it goes on everyone. It is also a built-in attack, so he's going to be doing damage off of it. If there's any dead allies, he places a shield on all allies for 3 turns equal to 30%. So if you have an ally who is dead, he actually makes the shield bigger. The really interesting part is that the last part of this ability, this buff, so this shield, can't be removed, stolen, transferred, spread, or have its duration increased or decreased. That's a lot going on. So he places a shield that is very solid. It can't just be stripped off. It's going to block all of the damage that it can or wear off in the 3 turns. So that could be really solid. I could see that being really useful in some things like Hydra, especially for some earlier teams. You could get a lot of benefit out of that because it's a shield buff that the Hydra can't steal and transfer to themselves and then spread it like they do. It's actually just going to shield your team for an amount, so that could be really useful in some places. His A3 Finest Hour is a 4-turn cooldown after booked that gives a 3%, so the bigger sized crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, but then it has the rally ability, so he teams up with all allies to hit a single enemy afterwards. So again, this can be useful in a lot of places. In Arena, you could use it to help bring in your actual nukers and damage dealers to take a target down after giving him an increased crit damage buff. But on things like Clan Boss and Hydra, this can rack you up a lot of extra damage. And then he has a passive that he inflicts 20% more damage to targets under shields. So this is useful, sort of. It's a nice little buff, but there's not a whole lot to it. He's just going to do more to shred enemy shields. Then his aura is a 35% HP increase in Doom Tower. That's a decent chunk. Limited in Doom Tower makes it okay. Doom Tower hard, you could get some use out of it. Maybe some, if you're struggling in regular Doom Tower, you can find some use there. I think there's better ones. I think like Tatura's 35% defense increase in Doom Tower can be extremely helpful. HP based champion gonna have an HP aura. His speed is a little low, but the rest of the stats look fine. This is all fine. That's a 23k for starting on an HP champ. Solid enough. Almost the 1200 defense. I mean, HP or attack obviously doesn't matter here, but not too bad on his stats and skills overall. So this is the start of the fusion event. The first events went live today, so let's take a look over at that and see how we want to approach this. So as you can see, the first events that drop are a simultaneous spider and dungeon diver event. One thing I should say about this is this is one of those fusion events that's actually a little easier for us in some regards. If I jump back here, as you can see, if you did the Helicath fusion, one difference here, there aren't rares that we need to deal with. So we don't need to be collecting 4 rares for every single epic and fusing them together first. This purely works off of there are 4 new epics that dropped, and by doing the events, we get fragments for those epics. So we get a step here that we skipped, which does make it a little less resource intensive. It actually is a little benefit for us to help make this go a little better, a little easier, and just not consume as many resources as a full-on fusion event like the Helicath one would have. So as I was saying, Spider and Dungeon Diver dropped today. My recommendation, obviously, farm those out, get them done as soon as you can. If you can get Spider done today, that is preferable. The reason for this is starting tomorrow, August 5th, we have the Champion Training Tournament dropping in conjunction with a Champion Chase Tournament. Now the thing with this, Champion Chase, obviously you just do your summons, try to get the stuff. If you have Sacreds on hand, I almost recommend using them here because at the same time as this, they're dropping a double rate increase. So the rate on Sacred Shards is going to be twice as much as normal for getting a Legendary, as well as there's a 10 times event for some pretty solid champions in there. So in this case, using your Sacreds on this event could be a really good option. With the champion training event, that is the same as always. Just start training, get XP, rank up units, things like that. And running the campaign will work towards the Dungeon Divers event. So if you don't have it complete, but you do have your Spider done, just work on champion training, run through the campaign, and that will get you more points to Dungeon Divers. Now, the one thing is because these events are giving you, and this fusion is working only off of epics, I do recommend that you try to get as many of the different epic fragments as you can early on. Max out any events you can and get as many points as you can for each of them, because you need to fuse one of each of them, and you don't want to get to late events and find that the fragments you need are no longer offered. I will bring an update video on this as I do with all of the fusion event videos, but your plan for right away today is get the Spider tournament done. Tomorrow you have a champion chase and use the champion training to build into the Dungeon Diver. Starting Saturday, we have a classic arena, one of the easiest events for this. You just use your normal arena tokens each day and you should have it done. And an artifact enhancement, so make sure you have the silver on hand to do something about that. Farming campaign can be a great way to get you some extra silver as we're doing that. Additionally, having the Spider tournament right away will give us extra of the accessory pieces, which are the highest selling pieces, so that should build up some extra silver in your pool right away as well. Then coming up on Monday, we have a bit of that slowdown point because the Dragon tournament starts and nothing else. So you really get to kind of use Monday as a wrap up for any of your other tournaments and start into Dragon. And then the next event doesn't actually come around until Wednesday, so we'll have a bit of a break. That's just the quick overview on the first portion and what this champion is. So looking at him, because it's a bit easier of an event in my opinion, if you have the resources on hand, I recommend doing it. However, I don't think the champion looks as strong as someone like Helicath, so if you are really short on resources and struggling there, it could be one that you pass up. I would recommend do every fusion event you can, every fragment event, because getting those champions early, even if they're not good right away, they could always get a buff later on. That's going to do it for episode 1. Thank you guys for checking this out, and I will be back with another episode for the next portion of the Lonatharil Fusion Guide in a few days. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. I will see you around. Bye.